Hello, everybody. Thank you for taking the time to watch this presentation that should hopefully answer some of your questions regarding the transition from rec to competitive soccer. This is part 3 of our 3-part series about competitive or advanced, and today we'll be addressing some common fears or misconceptions surrounding the program. Our hope is by the end of this series, our membership will be well armed to make the best possible soccer decision. And in the description below, you'll find web links, including a link to the full presentation, which covers everything regarding competitive soccer. And if you have questions that aren't answered here, please feel free to reach out. We'll be happy to get you the information that you want. If you've been with me through parts 1 and 2, then these opening slides should look pretty familiar. And just a quick reminder that we are discussing the advanced program or competitive soccer in this particular video series. And we've done a lot of discussion about why the club wants to see more players choose the advanced program at the earlier stages in their development, why it keeps them playing for life, why it is easier to start out more competitive and then taper off if you wish. But today we're going to address some of the most common questions and concerns surrounding the program. And those are time commitment, specialization, the extent of travel, extra expenses, mean-spirited, a lack of fun, and then my player is not ready. And we're going to go into each one of these individually. And so we're going to begin with time commitment. And the first thoughts to folks who haven't been through a competitive soccer program is that it will take over your life. And fortunately, while it is more time, it's not that much more time. And let's have a peek. A beginner or rec team will train on average 2 times a week and have a game on Saturday. Intermediate soccer is the same as beginner. The only difference there would be the professional coaching or maybe the division that you're playing in. And then advanced or competitive team will train 3 times a week, and then we'll have a game on Saturday. Additionally, there are usually 1 to 2 Sundays with matches and 2 to 3 tournaments in the calendar year. Some teams opt to do more, but that's pretty average. So while there is a larger time commitment, it's not as daunting as you might think, a couple of hours a week more. However, that time does add up. Even if it weren't for the difference in professional coaching and players were grouped by ability to increase their challenge, a player who trains 2/3 the amount of time should only expect 2/3 the development as a player who's training the full 3 times a week. Over the course of an entire year or longer, that begins to add up. When you factor in the professional coaching, that time is amplified. The next concern that people have with a move to the advanced program is this idea of specialization or choosing only one sport. If your player wants to play multiple sports, we say, great, go for it. What we ask for is increased communication and understanding. Obviously, we hope that your player loves soccer so much that the passion overwhelms everything else, but we understand that that happens at different rates for different players. However, please keep in mind, just like the difference in programs, if a player is only training 2/3 of the time, they should only expect 2/3 the progress. But every player is different, and some players may not be impacted at all at varying age groups. We not only value multi-sport athletes, but we encourage it, especially in the off seasons. That would be the winter, the summer. And in the off season, we utilize rest as a weapon. We want kids to not only love soccer, but avoid burnout. We want them to miss it when they don't get to play. The next item is travel, and convenience is a primary theme when it comes to time management, and nobody enjoys traveling all over for something they aren't entirely sure about. So let's look at the difference between the programs. For beginners at these ages, all games are at Sandstone Ranch. For advanced players, half of games are still at Sandstone Ranch. Those would be all of our home games. And the other half, which is approximately 8 games in a calendar year, are at the host club's venue. A majority of those clubs are in the Denver metro area. Some are Boulder, some are Broomfield, Fort Collins, so some of them aren't terribly far. But being completely transparent, Grand Junction, Pueblo, and Laramie are all participants in CSA leagues. However, you have to A, have that team in your division, and B, they have to be drawn as the host club. So it's not a common practice to visit those clubs. I want to say that I have made one of those 3 trips a total of 10 times over the course of my, now 17 years doing this. So it's not terribly common. At the older age groups, we begin to look at travel tournaments, excluding regional or national championships. And generally, there's one on our team progression plan at under 14, and that's to begin preparation, to practice. Some teams choose to do more. And then an average of 2 from 15 to 19 for showcase events and to build a tournament resume. Tournaments are a way to experience team bonding, experience a new environment, build lasting friends and lasting memories, which is the overarching goal of the program. And there is plenty of competition within the state of Colorado at the youngest ages. And so those travel events are fun, not just for players, but for parents as well. So, you might start doing some mental calculations in your head and say, that's great, but isn't the advanced program expensive? Well, it is more expensive, no question. For intermediate and advanced prep, it's significantly less than this. However, a lot of things are included. So rented fields, extra equipment, more and better referees, and of course, we have the paid professional coaches. So for a first team all in, kit and caboodle, is $1,700 for the entire year. And there is some sticker shock here. And so I tend to put this out here just so that people can see it and try and absorb it. However, if a season is roughly 8 months out of the year, okay, that roughly comes out to about just over $200 a month. And that might still sound expensive. But if we put it into context, if we play and train 6 hours a week, and it comes out to be roughly $8.85 an hour. And so I ask you, where else can you entertain your kids for less than $10 an hour while they are receiving professional instruction, life lessons, and having an absolute blast while doing it? Also, it's more affordable than a lot of alternative options. Music lessons, basketball is more expensive, hockey, equestrian, boy, the numbers there just blew my mind when I had a friend telling me how much that cost. But we do our best to keep the world's game accessible to everyone through donations and grants and fundraising. Another one that we hear is competitive soccer isn't fun. My kids just want to have fun. And soccer is inherently fun. I'm not sure how this one is perpetuated because the kids I've worked with over the years have had an absolute blast doing this, right? Soccer is a game, and it's just enjoyable. So the number one question that people ask every player is, did you win? And that happens across both beginner programs and advanced programs. With both programs and the amount of education that we do, we have tried to change that question to what did you learn? Did you play hard? Followed up with, did you have fun? And we do those things, but we still try and win. We still play to win the game. Regardless of level, people want to win, and winning is more fun than losing. But again, we try to provide as much perspective as possible. You think about the sideline behavior, and our club has one of the absolute best reputations in the state. Our culture, our code of conduct, the way we set expectations, the way we handle parent and player education and coach education. Again, we try to put everything into context, and because we're trying to avoid the quote unquote cutthroat nature of competitive soccer. There is some struggle that is inherent in a competitive program. You're not just competing against other teams, you're also competing against your peers. But coaches are expected to help parents and players take the same journey that they do, right? Coaches are with the players every day, and players may not see the way that they develop, or they get into the minivan, they say, mom says, hey, how was training? Kid says, great. And they're none the wiser. So coaches are encouraged to help, and they're trained on how to communicate with families so that nothing comes as a shock. But this always comes back to purpose, lasting friends and lasting memories. And while we do experience struggle, Nobody's journey is linear. The last one, and this is the greatest element of fear that parents express: my kid is not ready. Well, if we wait until we're not ready, we'll be waiting the rest of our lives. Nobody is ever ready. The nature of the program and sport in general is such that there is always something more to work toward. And you would be surprised at how many parents believe their player is not ready when they very much are. And this comes back to tryouts free, kick arounds free. Send your kids out, let them experience it, and then we can have an open and honest conversation about it. Okay. But it's really not that intimidating. And people are so surprised when they hear that their kid is on the first team, and we think this is a no brainer. Along the same lines as the not ready, if you attempt to enter late, and this was addressed in our second video, which I will make sure is linked below, attempting to enter late has more barriers to entry. And more often than not, players will be further behind, even less ready. And again, simply have a player give it a shot. We can have an honest conversation about it. If it's not their thing, they can always keep playing in one of our other programs. But the entrance ages under 11 to competitive soccer is nothing to be feared. The predominant theme is how to train. We ensure that players become ready. Over the past 3 years, we have sent almost 20 female players to the collegiate level. More than half of them weren't quote unquote ready when they were under 11, but less than a year in, they were sold out for soccer. And some people knew immediately that this was the path they wanted to take. Some folks weren't sure until we discussed their fears, and some others still may not be sure. But here are the ways that you can get into the program. The formal tryouts for under 11s and older are going to begin the week after Memorial Day, the day after Memorial Day, in fact. You can use the form that'll be linked below to do an informal trial with the competitive program. We also do kick-arounds at the under 9, under 10 age groups. All of that will be linked below as well. And you can always just reach out to any member of our team and we will get you squared away. And maybe you have further questions, please feel free to ask. All right, so ultimately, who should consider competitive soccer? Everyone. Everyone should consider it and give it an honest try. Come to kick-arounds, come to tryouts, come see what it's all about. And as always, thank you so much for your time, and go green.